All right, Coach, just overall, a veteran St. John's team, and you played them pretty close today. How'd you like your defensive intensity?
I was so proud of
them
them tonight. I felt like we had St. John's, especially early, rattled. Our kids came in and bought into the game plan, and we got stops, and I was so proud of them. Just at times in the game, I feel like we wore down a little bit because we were playing so hard and so locked in and using a lot of energy, and then I felt like they went on some runs to get the lead.
Talk a little bit about some just spurts of play. Less inconsistency again. It's getting closer to almost a full 40 minutes.
Yeah, we're right there, and that's what we told them. They came back from break, Christmas break, locked in, ready to go. As we told them, everybody's 0-0. So our record goes out the window now, and it's all about competing and bringing our best game into every game moving forward. And how about Sarah? I mean, she came in kicking butt in practice these 3 days, and I told them in the locker room, I'm so proud of her, but she came back ready to go, and it's not by accident she had this stat line today. This is how she dominated practice all week. And just talk to them about, again, if you didn't play as well as you'd like, you got to get in the gym, get those shots up, get your confidence, because as we know, the Big East moves forward. We got 1 day of prep and on to Seton Hall.
Ari had a couple of quick early fouls, and then she had to sit the whole second quarter. Did you feel like when she came back out, like, when she shook off the rust real quick and she, picked up right where she left off, but what was that like for her and the rest of the team with having to sit her on the bench for a whole quarter?
It's always tough when it's your best player that you have to sit, and you're kind of wondering, like, can you put her back in for maybe a minute or two to kind of buy some time? But the game was so tight, we didn't want her to be on the bench with 3, so you're just hoping that someone stepped up, and that's where Sarah came in her presence and provided a spark for us with Ari out. And then, of course, Ari, you're making sure she knows in the third quarter, she wants to be in there so bad to let the game come to her, which she did, and she had an incredible second half for us.
Coach, just to follow up on Ari, and then one other question about your start tonight. Obviously she's one of the most talented and physically gifted athletes in the Big East, and she's only an underclassman. This isn't her last year on campus. What do you think her ceiling is in terms of her basketball career?
Unbelievable. She hasn't even hit it yet, and that's what we talk about to her all the time. When she figures it out and really buys into playing hard on both ends, and she's every week, every game, she's playing harder defensively. You're seeing longer spurts from her on both ends. So we talk to her about that all the time. She wants to play professionally, and so we tell her, if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, it's our job to challenge you every day to be your best. And so she's not yelling as much as she was. She's staying positive and just working, and that's our goal. If her goal is to play professionally, we want to help her get there and push her every day in practice.
And then just your start tonight, you gave up a couple of runs early, and you talked about that. Outscored in the first quarter 20-12, and then you kept it close in every quarter after that. The slow starts have kind of been a bit of a detriment to you guys at points against Cincinnati. That was one of the storylines. How do you correct that as a coaching staff going forward?
Yeah, so we're trying to correct it in practice. Now when we start practice, we'll start with a scrimmage and a tip to try to kind of show them, like, okay, so we're starting practice right like we would a game, and we're slowly doing that. And I feel like our gap in the start is getting shorter and shorter, so we're going to continue to do that so that it carries over on the court.
Talk a little bit about combinations, rotation-wise. It seems like you're able to sub a little bit offense for defense, especially at the end of the games and situationally. That's probably a nice asset for you as you get your rotation tighter.
It's huge, and our kids are really buying into their roles and understanding, like, I'm a defensive stopper, or I know my job's to catch and shoot, and they're buying into that as a team, and it makes our job a lot easier.
One of the things that you talked about the other day was how many different ways you can say to your team, like, hey, we're close. Like, hey, I know it might not show in the record, but hey, we're close. And again, you kind of have to have that conversation. Like, what's the team's response to that when you can tell, like, hey, we're close, but it's not showing up in the win column, and you just hope that eventually in the rest of this Big East slate, you can pull a few of these out?
Yeah, you can tell by how they're looking back at you. And they're looking at you with those eyes like, we believe, and they're not in their head like, yeah, we really are right there. And they're fighting. They're still fighting for us every day in practice. They're fighting in every game. And the reality is we really are right there. And you just hope that they continue to believe it. And now down the stretch, we make those plays to win the games.
All right, Coach Seton Hall coming up here. Just what's the message? Quick turn again. You're going to come back here on the 31st, and what are you going to work on in between then and now?
Yep. So we're gonna go back, watch some film tomorrow. Also get practice in, get our game plan in, and then it's really a mental preparation when you have these close turnarounds like this. You have to be locked in from a mental standpoint. So we want to make sure they get their recovery, they get their fluids, and they get food in them, and then it's a quick turnaround. So we have to learn from what happened today, and then stay focused to a great Seton Hall team coming in here.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thank you.